far as you visit, you see that there are so many orphans and vulnerable children.
Every little effort that you can do makes a difference, for sure.
Uganda is one of the countries in the region that is registering the highest population growth, standing at an average of 3% per year. Children below the age of 18 dominate Uganda's population. People here still live a basic life. 1/3 of Uganda's population live below the poverty line. Statistics at the National Population Secretariat indicate that Ugandan women are so fertile, with an average of giving birth standing at 6 children for each woman. However, there is an increase on the numbers of orphans and vulnerable children being registered. Many of the vulnerable children are the ones who have been affected and infected by HIV/AIDS scourge and other related sicknesses as well.
Child poverty in Uganda is rampant and affects a number of children. And the causes is orphanage. The children become orphans at an early age in many areas of the country due to the problems of HIV/AIDS, other diseases like malaria, and wars has brought a lot of orphans in the country.
These children are now living under the care of their helpless grandparents who are themselves needy and are living a hand-to-mouth life, hard to afford their personal needs.
The first category is the children that live with their helpless grandmothers. The grandmothers are vulnerable themselves, they are aging and live in poverty. So we try and help those children. Another category is of children who have ailing parents who are suffering from HIV/AIDS. These children also fall in our category for support. Then the last category is the children that live in child-headed families, the children that care for themselves, that care for each other. So we support those children. And the challenge is that they lack basic needs, and we try to fill the gap of basic needs. And the grandparents themselves are also helpless and aging.
80 years old Jacinta Tujamirire is one of them. She is a grandmother looking after her 6 grandchildren. They are children to her 2 sons who were working in Kampala and have since passed away after they contracted HIV. Tujamirire is not only struggling with looking for food and school fees for her grandchildren, but also looking for money to build a new house, as her current house has been invaded by termites, though the house was already getting outlived.
She cannot manage on her own. She doesn't have any more sons to help her. But we people around her as a community are the sons and daughters of this old woman. So we should have a heart to come and help her and put up a good shelter. At least she can raise these children to a certain level before she retires.
Currently, the family is occupying a school staff house belonging to Zoroma Primary School at Kambugu in Kanungu district. Her case is not different from Justin Siribata, who is also looking after her 4 grandchildren. But for Justin, her problem is school fees, because she feels her grandchildren will be liberated if only they can acquire education. The children have now resorted to fending for the family, putting in balance the future of their education. The problem is not only limited to grandmothers. The other challenge cropping up is the increasing number of single mothers. These mothers have either lost their husbands to HIV and other related illnesses or have been divorced. They are looking after children and their livelihood is dependent on land productivity. These women have no ownership over land. Enid Mugisha is a widow who lost her husband to HIV before they acquired land as they lived on the family land. Enid now has to part with some money to rent a piece of land for cultivation to enable her to produce food for family consumption and the balance for sale as well.
Ndiyo mufakazi ntine chinyi nembwenu bashanga ntine chinyi nechona nukuchake cyo kurebereza abana n'ekitabo kirukundemo nakajwaro kabo kakundemo nyoni ndengwe kina bintine hati nchini nkeri itaka nkarugura hati nkabana bari no basho nkana yenze ngo bashitani abo buteye basasa akasente nkanki humkwekora ukwekorera kubekwande tine kantu kwana ko kubasa kuguza nkiya mwaka sema.
Evelyn Friday is also in a similar situation after she lost her husband and has gone an extra mile to adopt other orphans in the family where she was married. The government of Uganda introduced a program, Universal Primary Education and Universal Secondary Education, all efforts geared at providing conditions favorable for all children of school-going age access basic education. This has not greatly helped these young children under the care of their grandmothers, who can hardly earn $1 in a month to buy the basic needs for a child going to school, which include uniform, books and other scholastics necessary for school children. Organizations are currently taking the challenge head-on and are trying to respond using multi-sector approach. Entebbe Women Association, EWA, is one of them that are currently making an intervention in the districts of Wakiso, Rukunjiri and Kanungu to help children under the care of grandmothers and other vulnerable orphans access education.
So we intervened by taking the children to school. We pay for them school fees. We buy for them scholastic materials and other school requirements. Then we looked at the whole family at large, and we support the income generating activities for the grandmothers and the widows who stay at home. We built water tanks for the grandmothers because they can't go to fetch water in their old age, and where they get the water from is very far from their homes. So when the children are at school, they can't manage to go and fetch the water for themselves. So we constructed the water tanks for the grandmothers to have water which is clean and in a shorter distance.
Entebbe Women Association is an organization that was formed in 1995 with a major goal to foster development through various interventions to eradicate poverty and help Ugandans appreciate nature through management and sustainable use of their environment. Under their scholarship fund, EWA is currently caring for about 70 children in these 3 districts where they operate with funding from members of the Heritage Village Vineland, Ontario, Canada, as well as individual persons from British Columbia, Sweden, Norway and the United Kingdom. Some of the children confess that the future of their education is not anymore doomed as they find time to read, which was not the case while still at their village schools.
EWA has given us a lot of care because we were unable to pay our school fees ourselves.
And this affirms the justification why EWA opted to take most of the children under the scholarship program into boarding schools.
These children whom we support, we opt to take them to boarding schools, mainly because they do not have enough time to themselves to cope with their workload in education. They don't have time to read, they don't have time to do the homeworks, they have to fetch water, they have to fetch firewood, they have to cook for themselves. So we think that if they go to boarding schools, where they cook for them, they will be able to join other children and be able to compete with other children. Because at the end of the day, they're expected to perform like other privileged children who have everything.
Some of the funders of our Education Scholarship Program take time to visit these children, which helps them have an understanding of the problem.
Well, what can I say? I mean, it's awful conditions that many of these children are living under. And you feel, I don't know, you feel powerless. You wish that you could do more. And I don't know what to say really. You just think a lot.
Hope is slowly returning to these children as EWA believes that with increased funding, many orphans would soon be reached out to as the scholarship continues to roll out. Next time you visit Rukunjiri, make an effort to visit Godfrey Aturinda and Namanya Susan, the two children who were left by their mother in a house after the death of their father. They look after each other and are beneficiaries of the EWA scholarship. They have been isolated by their immediate relatives and are living alone in this house during holidays. Their livelihood is dependent on the neighbors who provide handouts in form of food.
We hope that we shall get the support for these children. We believe that these children will get support and make their lives better.